Who says we should not be in Libya in the first place. Kentucky Republican Dr. Rand Paul. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning.
Why not?
Well, the thing is our founding fathers intended that Congress would have a big say in declaring war. And in fact, they gave the power to declare war to Congress. Even in Afghanistan and in Iraq, President Bush came to Congress before engaging in military activity. I think this sets a very bad precedent, the president unilaterally on his own starting war without any consent from Congress.
Well, and now we're seeing the rebels retreating today, Dr. Paul, and it looks as if things are escalating in Libya. What do you make of it?
Well, it's never that easy to remove people from power. Even, in Serbia and in Iraq, we found that bombing alone didn't do it. Actually, ground troops had to go in and do it. There are many here in Washington now advocating ground troops. I think it's a slippery slope, and it could engage us in a third war. And I think by any means or definition, bombing both troops and bombing installations is war. And really, it's an affront to the Constitution that we're not debating this in Congress.
One thing that's open for debate, though, is Senator Chuck Schumer, because he was out and open, even though he didn't know he was, when he called the Tea Party extreme. Listen to this.
The Tea Party wants to stick to H.R. 1 with its draconian extreme. I always use the word extreme. That's what the caucus instructed me to do the other week. Extreme cuts. Boehner's in a box. But if he supports the Tea Party, there's going to inevitably be a shutdown.
All right, so he didn't know that reporters were on the line when he gave out the Democratic talking points. I don't think anyone's too surprised. But what do you make of the fact that he is saying that you, as a member of the Tea Party, are holding the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, in a box?
Well, it's interesting that he's calling us extreme, because I think what's extreme is what's going on in Washington now. Having a nearly $2 trillion deficit in 1 year, hundreds of billions of dollars in interest. We're borrowing $4 billion a day. What Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing to this country is extreme. And I think what's interesting about when you truly hear what they're talking about, they're the only ones that want to shut down government because they think they could get a cheap PR victory over this, whereas the rest of us want responsible government that balances their budget. We want to have a discussion, as the American people talked about a balanced budget amendment, not about cheap gimmickry like the other side.
But what about putting Boehner in the box? Because there's a report out this morning that Republican House leaders are now meeting with moderate Democrats, and some are saying that that means that they can't strike a deal with members of the Tea Party, which would be you, and so now they're going to reach out to Democrats.
Well, I don't know if I'd say putting in a box. What I would describe it is that we're for balancing the budget. We need to have a real plan to balance the budget. We need a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. If people call that putting someone in a box, by all means, let's put them in a balanced budget box.
Okay. I want you to take a look at this brand new Quinnipiac poll. It's about the president's job approval. Right now, 42% say they approve and 48% say that they disapprove. And then this question was asked: does he deserve to be reelected? Here were the results. Yes, 41%. No, 50%. And that was just done in the last 24 hours. Are you surprised by that?
Not really. The pulse I get, everybody I talk to who's either in business or trying to create employment in our economy, they tell me this president is the most anti-business president we've ever had. Businesses are still sitting on the sidelines with money to invest, mainly because they're uncertain of all these new regulations. He's got new regulations on 1/6 of the economy in healthcare. He's got new regulations on the banking industry. No banks failed in Kentucky. It was in Wall Street, but they placed all these new regulations on Kentucky banks and banks across the country. It's making it very hard to get a loan right now.
Well, Senator Rand Paul, the question that's been below you the entire interview is a question mark about the 2012 presidential race. I know you're not going to answer it, so I'll ask it to you next time when you join us. As always, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, would ABC really